Hey, I'm Kelly Hogan. Welcome back to my Zero Carb Life. So, a few weeks ago, I came on here and I talked about two topics that had kind of rocked my world. I talked about this sugar fasting thing where people are eating pure carbohydrates in the absence of all protein and fat and getting results that I honestly would not have predicted. And then I also talked about the idea, this theory of insulin suppression that Dr. Robert Sivis has talked about, that he is concerned for longtime carnivores who are very strict, who do not have any carbohydrate, how sometimes they see their A1C start to creep up. And he feels that it's because we have not given our insulin anything like to do. It's been bored for so long, it basically falls asleep, and then A1C starts to go up. Well, ever since I made that video, I have read a lot of comments. Y'all had a lot to say. And I also continued listening to other people who have since then made videos on these two topics. I have been in contact back and forth with Dr. Robert Sives. I've also talked to some of my nutritionist friends, functional medical doctors and practitioners who draw lab work all day, every day. Like, this is just what they do. And mostly on keto carnivore people. Now, a couple of weeks ago when I shared, I had tons of notes. I knew where I was going with this. And I'll be honest, right now, I've got like a little bit of chicken scratch. So we'll see where this goes. All right. I just now heard a new Dr. Westman video, and he was saying that he does not consider someone diabetic if they simply have an A1C that is at around 5.7 to even higher than that. He does not consider them pre-diabetic or diabetic if they have a low insulin score. So considered optimal would be below 5. Dr. Philip Avadia wants to see it single digits for heart health, but most people would say like textbook perfect would be below a 5. And Dr. Westman is not concerned about diabetes if he sees that insulin is below 5. I was like, okay, well, there's another take on it. He did also mention what I said a few weeks ago that I have heard from others, that sometimes as we get healthier and people lose weight and all markers of health are improving, one thing tends to go up a little bit. We're not talking like skyrockets, but you might see a slight uptick in A1C because red blood cells are living longer. This is not a proven theory, but I've heard some pretty smart people in our space say they see it, and because it correlates with all other things getting better, they're feeling better, their lab work looks great, their triglycerides are coming down, HDL is going up, they have more energy, weight is coming off. It's like, okay, so if a red blood cell lives longer, A1C would look higher, even though like that could be good. Okay. I also know that if someone is metabolically compromised, if they have been diabetic or pre-diabetic, they are not well, then they will have a harder time handling large amounts of protein. You can talk to most anyone that's been diagnosed with diabetes. They know that they have to be really careful about eating a large portion of very lean meats, or else their blood sugar will go up. First time I heard that, I was like, no, is that true? This was nearly 20 years ago. Okay, this was before I was officially all in carnivore. I was just mostly carnivore. And one of my friends, that's what his mom said. Oh, I have to be really careful with really lean meat. So I started checking it on myself. I got a little glucose monitor. I was like, well, dang, sure as the world. So the fat really matters. Got it. The fat really matters. So we have all these theories about us and a rising A1C. Let's start with the most obvious. Are you eating a lot of carbohydrates? If so, I would say start there. If you want to fix an A1C problem, and you're eating a standard American diet, you're having carbs with your fats and your proteins. Your macros are all of them. That really is, it seems to be quite the recipe for diabetes, especially if you are eating all 3 macros in large amounts. Even if somebody was combining all of the 3 macros, but in a calorie deficit, we have seen, surely you know somebody who does that, and they're doing fine. But large quantities of fat combined with sugar, combined with protein, that's basically like, Happy Meals, but for adults, does not usually go well. So that would be strategy 1. If you're not pre-diabetic yet, but maybe you've seen your A1C going up a little, a great place to start would be to get your fasting insulin checked to see what's going on. Typically, before glucose starts to go up, fasting insulin will be going up. So if you're above a 10, and I've known people who come into the groups as brand new carnivores where they are way above 10, sometimes they're way above 30, there's your sign. We got to drop this sugars and carbs. If you do that, there are 5 main ways to improve your insulin. Keep out the foods that raise your glucose. So if you eat anything and your glucose is going up, if it's going up more than 20 points and staying there more than an hour, I would reconsider that food, whether that's a super lean meat or it's, a pile of donuts. I would not do that again, or at least consider doing that less. Replace those foods with the foods that will have the least impact on your glucose and insulin. And there is only one way for you to know. I would recommend that you check. You can get a glucose monitor for $25 at the drugstore or at Walmart. Make sure it comes with test strips. If not, you'll just need to buy a little canister and you can check. So if you were to eat a nice fatty steak and you see that your glucose stays pretty fatty, and in 1 hour afterwards, you're right back to where you started before you ate anything, that's great. If not, then I would look at, well, what did I eat? How could I tweak this? Should I eat in smaller meals? Could I try having a little less protein, a little more fat? I no longer want to convince people that I know everything, because I don't. And honestly, that was never my goal. I was just here to share the story of what has worked for me. But at this point, I really want you to find out what works for you. And a glucose monitor can be a really useful tool, or a CGM. They're a little harder to get, but they're a great tool. Okay, so let's say you've done the first 2 things, which are diet related. You have figured out how to steady your blood sugar. This is good. But other things that affect insulin are stress. So finding some ways to de-stress, some breath work, time outside, a gentle walk, journaling, prayer, talking it out. Great. Getting some sleep, really important, and moving your body. Muscles absolutely use up glucose. So this is why some people with very little muscle who are not weight training at all just can't eat like some of the carnivore diet influencers who are very muscular men or women, Dr. Lyon. So your results may vary. If you find that you can eat exactly like Dr. Baker does, man, that's awesome. That's great. And get positive results. That's so cool. Okay, so the reason for high A1C, stay on track. The reasons for high A1C might be that you are having excessive carbohydrates or a mixed diet that is causing that. That reason could be because your red blood cells are getting healthier and living longer. That should come with improved health. If somebody says, no, I'm not really losing weight, I don't feel that great, my triglycerides are high, but maybe my red blood cells are living longer, I'd be like, maybe not, but something to consider. It could be because you're having large amounts of protein in one sitting that's too lean for you to handle it. Doesn't mean that applies to everybody. I'm just throwing out some options here that I've seen. And then Dr. Sivis's reason is it could be that your insulin is super, super low and has had nothing to do for long periods of time. I gotta tell you, I don't think that applies to that many people though. Some of you heard me say that last week and were like, uh-oh, does that mean I should be including carbs? If your insulin is still kind of high, and I'm gonna say even if it's like an 8 or a 9 or higher, I do not think you're suffering from insulin suppression. What Dr. Sivis was referring to is people who typically have below 2 for their fasting insulin. And that's me. And I eat a lot. Sometimes people will get low insulin levels from not eating much, but I eat minimum 2,100 calories per day. Yes, call it fuel, meat, calories, energy, whatever you want to call it. A lot of food, a lot of meat. And very often I go upwards of 3,000. I have always had a big appetite. But when I ate that much on a standard American diet, it did not go well. Now it turns out if I eat a very high-fat carnivore diet, my body loves it. I can eat a lot of food. So my insulin is low, but it's not due to undereating. It is due to my insulin not having anything to really do. So I started checking my morning glucose again. I used to do it every single day for many, many months. And then, It was same old, same old. It was running in the 80s every single day. So I stopped pricking my finger. Well, I started checking again recently, and there were mornings when my fasted glucose was just above 100, like 105. I'm like, well, that's weird. So then the insulin suppression thing, Dr. Sivas was getting really in my head. I was like, my insulin is 1.1. Why is my morning glucose above 100? I didn't like it. So I went and had an A1C test done. The first test they ran was inconclusive because the woman drew very little blood. I've never heard of that before. I'm here to tell you. I'll put a screenshot. That's what it said. So I was going to go back. I had to wait a week because it's kind of far from me. I just didn't have time to do it. And in that week's time, I thought, man, my morning blood sugar above 100. How could I fix that? So Dr. Sivas's suggestion is give your insulin a little something to do. Again, this does not apply to new carnivores, to type 2 diabetics who are still eating carbs. This does not apply to people who still have a high insulin. No, he's talking to the very small but growing number of people who have not had carbohydrates probably in years and have very low insulin. But that was me. He has said that you could add some milk. Remember I talked about that last time? That would have enough carbs, unlike heavy cream, which has not. I use a lot of heavy cream, sometimes more than 3 cups of heavy cream in a day. It's a lot of heavy cream. Insulin has not gone up. And I have also heard Dr. Sivas say that even though glucose will go up with high amounts of lean meat, he has tried in many of his patients to get insulin to be triggered. And the insulin would not go up from protein, only from carbohydrates. So he suggested whole milk. He said, have a glass of whole milk in the mornings. That'll give your insulin something to do, and people start to see their A1C come down. Well, I talked to a friend of mine. She tried that for 30 days. And sure enough, her glucose numbers in the morning started coming down. Her A1C came down a few points. In 30 days, there was a marked difference in her A1C. She was having 8 ounces of whole milk every morning. Well, at the end of 30 days, she was not happy because even though her A1C came down, her insulin went from below 2. So she qualified for this whole insulin suppression theory. But her insulin went above 6. Well, she was ticked because we're all trying to get our insulin down. She's like, oh, we overshot it. And she put on, quote, a couple of pounds during that 30 days. So she was not happy. She did not go back to milk. Her A1C went back up a little bit. And hers was at around 5.5. Before the experiment, it went back to 5.5, but it did drop in the meantime. So I went and I had my A1C blood work done. And it was last week, and I didn't get it back until today. In the meantime, I tried on 2 different occasions to have something that is not part of my carnivore diet, and that is honey, because Dr. Sivas said it probably would not take much honey to trigger insulin to give it something to do. Now, I would say to anybody wanting to add honey, I would proceed with caution because it is very sweet. But I was not worried that it was going to trigger sugar cravings for me for 2 reasons. Number 1, I hate honey. I do not like the smell of it. I've never liked honey. I do not think I'm going to suddenly turn into Winnie the Pooh over here because I really, really don't like it. And secondly, because I have had honey about 2 other times during the past 15 years of carnivore. I would get a really tickly cough and couldn't sleep at night. Again, twice in 15 years. So this was not a frequent thing at all. But I couldn't sleep and I didn't want to take really sugary, gross cough syrup. So lemon juice and honey, that's what my dad used to give me when I was a kid. It coats your throat. The lemon juice kind of cuts through it and it helped me to sleep. The other time I was wearing a CGM and I just wanted to see what it would do. Well, it caused my blood sugar to go way up. And it stayed there for so long. I think it was a 40-point jump that stayed there for like 4 hours. This was maybe 5 years ago. So then I was like, oh no more honey. And that was it for me until very recently. I'm telling you, the insulin suppression thing got in my head. And the fact that I was having some morning glucose readings over 100. So I did it 2 different times, 2 different mornings, honey. And I was right. It did not cause carb cravings for me, and I hated it. It did, however, cause my blood sugar to dramatically spike. That is no surprise. For somebody who never eats carbohydrates, it is no surprise at all that I would get that. And I'm sure if I were to keep doing it every day, I would see that less and less. But here's what I did find interesting. After doing that 2 times, my blood sugar numbers now in the mornings are reading in the upper 70s to lower 80s. Again, big drop down. So, okay. I also saw a video recently with 4 of the big men carnivore influencers. I love these guys. I love them. But they were talking about this idea of insulin suppression and said, no, we really don't see that. Don't think it's a thing. And I was like, oh, okay, good. You hear all these different things. And I'm just trying to learn and listen and not assume that I already know. But I'm telling you, it has been every single morning since that second honey dose. And I haven't done it again because now my morning glucose today was 70. That's dramatic. That's wild. And I haven't changed what I'm doing by day. It's not like I suddenly ate less than 0 carbs. My diet, I'm still 0 carb now ever since that second honey day. Well, during those days that I was thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to come back with a high A1C because my insulin is low and my morning glucose has been higher, 105 almost every morning. I was expecting my A1C to come back elevated. Mine has normally through the years run at about 5.2. Now, many years ago, like 15 years ago, when I was first starting carnivore and first cut out all carbs, and finally it was like, whoo, I lost so much weight, I'm feeling good. My A1C was in the upper 4s. So even when it had gotten up to 5.2, I was not worried about a 5.2, but that was a little higher. Okay, it turns out I got my results today. 15 and a half years strict carnivore, and my A1C today was 4.8. So, again, I know this is not organized, and where am I even going? Even I don't know yet. But I don't think Dr. Robert Sivas is completely wrong, because when I did give my insulin a job, my morning glucose numbers came right back down. And I also don't think Stephanie Keto Person, who advocates for super high fat, moderate to low protein, adequate protein, let's call it that. I don't think she is wrong when she says that eating lots of lean meat just does not work for a lot of women, because I see that. I don't think Dr. Westman is wrong when he says slightly elevated A1C with, in combination, very low insulin. He does not currently feel that it is a problem. I don't think the 4 carnivore guys, see who all it was. It was Dr. Robert Kiltz, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Baker, and Dr. Berry. I mean, right? I don't think they're wrong either, because first of all, that's a little sacrilege. No, I'm just kidding. Because I don't think there are a lot of people that need to worry that their insulin is too low. I don't see that a lot because most of the world's insulin is high. At least most people in America, diabetes is out of control. Obesity has been on the rise for a very long time in this country. So I don't think low insulin is a widespread problem. So I think those guys are right. And then you've got the sugar dieting people where they're having nothing but pure carbohydrate. And I have seen some people comment that they have been doing it for an extended period of time and that their glucose is actually coming down. There were some studies done in the 70s where diabetes was treated with pure carbohydrate without any fat or protein. And it had very odd, unexpected lowering effects on glucose. Okay, I have, I think, 2 more stories. One of which is Indigo Neely, who I love her. She's great. She's been in the keto and carnivore space, back and forth some. for a very long time. She's delightful. Well, she has recently been eating lots of fruit by day and very lean meats at night. So basically, very little fat. And she just got her lab work done, and that is going pretty well for her. Seriously. Her insulin, I think, was around a 6, which is great. Her glucose numbers are great. Her A1C is fantastic. I want to say it's a 5.2. Should have taken better notes on that. But I mean, it's good. Everything looks good. And she is dropping weight doing it. Again, that's just pure fruit all day and then very lean meats at night. That's what I heard her say in this recent video. I'm not sure how long she has been doing that, but okay. Then you have like the PSMF crew, and most of us who comes to mind, go ahead and say it with me, the Emmerichs, right? Very large amounts of protein with very little fat and basically no carbohydrate. Are any of them getting some positive results? Well, yes. So then I thought, well, if all of these versions are working, oh, and then you've got me. I am having tons of fat. I mean, the vast majority, upwards of 80% of my calories come from fat. The rest is from protein. Obviously, I'm not having carbs except what is in eggs. I am having tons of heavy cream, egg yolks in butter. For anybody that thinks fat fasting is just drinking oil, somebody said, I don't know how you can drink all that oil. I'm like, I literally have never done that. I've never done that. I am mostly over here living my best life, enjoying carnivore ice cream, which is delicious. I know the sugar dieters are like, well, we're eating candy. I'm like, well, I'm eating ice cream. I'm living off heavy cream and egg yolks with a pinch of salt, little pure vanilla, and some cinnamon. Oh my gracious. That's a good time. Sometimes I'll eat 3 bowls of it, each bowl more than a cup of heavy cream. Whip it up, I put it in the freezer. When it's solid, I say. Okay, so ice cream, buttery scrambled egg yolks, whipped tallow bites. It's where you take beef tallow, whip it. You can season it how you want. I usually do mine again. Pure vanilla, pinch of salt, little cinnamon, whip it up, put it into little silicone molds, stick it in the freezer. Delicious. Brown butter bites. I do not enjoy eating sticks of butter, but I love some carnivores that do, so that's okay. In other words, I am eating really well over here. If you wanted to, you could, and I have included bone marrow, cod livers. They're okay. Some people even include some MCT oil. I have not used any oils. I'm not drinking oil over here. Okay, I'm not suffering. When I do a fat fast, it is actually delicious, and I feel like a kid again because I'm just basically eating ice cream all day. It's great. Why would I do that? I feel really good when I do. I get this rush from my ketones go up very often, up to a 2.5 to a 3.2 tends to be where I stay, which feels really good to me. I feel energetic. I have been sleeping great, and my blood work has been great. I've gotten that checked. So that's what I'm doing. Here's where I think I am right now. There are many ways to get some positive results. There are definitely people out there who are eating a Mediterranean diet and doing great. There are some people out there who are doing PSMF, tons of protein with very little fat and no carbs. Some of them are doing great. I did try that. I did get very constipated. I also did not have good energy, and I just looked kind of sunken in my eyes, like kind of dark. I just didn't look or feel very good. It was not for me. I don't thrive on high amounts of protein. I've done standard carnivore for the most part of my 15 years, which is burger patties, New York strips, ribeyes, eggs. That's been the majority of what I've done. That has worked absolutely beautifully for me. It was simple. I didn't try to force any one macro. It was just tasty, fatty meat. That was it. I did add some bacon grease or tallow to my burger patties or butter a lot of the time. So it was a slightly higher than 70% calories from fat carnivore diet. And that worked great. Then you've got the fat fasting. some of these folks are dropping weight like crazy. And I do think it is partly due to the upregulation of this FGF21 hormone, which only occurs if someone is low to no protein. That can be achieved through extended fasting, though I have not tried that. Not as a carnivore, I haven't. It could be achieved through pure carbohydrate, no fat, no protein. It can be achieved through pure fat, no carb, no protein. It is the lowering of the protein that upregulates this FGF21. Okay, so then we have people who are doing pretty well by doing whole foods by day, fruit and a little vegetables during the day, and super lean meats at night. I got to tell you, I think a lot of us did try that though. Like, didn't we all kind of grow up thinking that's healthy? Just a lot of vegetables during the day and fruits, and then super lean meats as a dinner. I found that very hard to stick to. I did, because at some point I always wanted a fatty burger. I wanted some fat, right? Fruit and vegetables didn't have fat. The lean meat didn't have fat, and I just wanted some fat. Now I'm happy. But there are some people who are doing that and seem to be doing fine. My IBS issues would be no, we're not going to eat plants all day. I had some problems, y'all. Okay. So I'm going to pass on that one, but I'm happy that it's working for Indigo and anybody else who's doing that. Okay. Then there's this guy online named Anabology. He's having pure honey all day, most every day. Honey, a little fruit, but mostly honey. And then at night, he eats a lean meat. Well, I think that sounds very hard, actually. It would be for me. Number one, I may have mentioned, I hate honey, so I'm not going to do that. And then again, like, where's the fat for my hormones? I used to have very painful periods, and they were painful when I did low fat, high protein as well, even as a carnivore doing PSMF. My cycle, my body, my hormones, I thrive better with high fat. Okay, last little story. I'm going to try to wrap this up. I'm sure this is all crystal clear to you now. No, I do have a carnivore friend, and she says that she's going to come out publicly and share her experience. But in the meantime, I'm not going to mention a name. Whenever she posts her video, I will link to it below, even if it's after this video has come out. She had lost a lot of weight on carnivore and was close to her goal weight. She had some periods where she found it very hard to stay consistent with carnivore. And then, she would gain back, and she would get like within 7 pounds of her goal weight, that level close, but stalled out. So when she heard about this, eat nothing but pure sugar, fruit, honey, sugar all day, she was like, well, let's do that, because she saw that some people were losing weight on it. She let me know that she had started, I think the day before. We've been talking. She's been trying at this for 3 weeks. She said it's way harder than she thought it would be. She also, by the end of every night, she wants some fatty meat. She is like dying for a burger patty or a ribeye. She said, I thought it would be so easy to just have nothing but sugar. She said no. She's just not satisfied. So she keeps cheating on this sugar diet by having some meat because she's hungry. Well, she also said that she was told that having all the sugar by day that she wants would keep out carb cravings. Well, I certainly would not have expected that to be the case. Well, it was not for her. And I'm not here to tell what's happening to anybody else. I know that some people have reported that. But for her, she said next thing she knows, she's eating bread. She is eating popcorn. She's bringing back foods that she said I have not even considered touching for the last couple of years of her life because she's done carnivore. So just having all the sweet tastes all day did not satisfy that, because I think addictions don't usually work that way. You could say, oh, well, I'm an alcoholic, so maybe I can quench that thirst with some bourbon. How much bourbon would it take? And then it would be like somebody coming along and saying, but you can have all the bourbon you want, so then it's not really an addiction. You're just having all you want. Well, I think it just reawakened all of that for her. So she wasn't just then having pure sugar. She was having pure sugar until she then got to the bread and popcorn. And I think there were cookies. There were some taco. Oh my gosh. I shouldn't even be saying all these words on here. Sorry. Things that I do not eat. And then at night, she's like, yeah, now I want some meat. So she's been putting on weight ever since starting. She said I just talked to her this morning. She has recommitted. She is going back to carnivore because she's like, I feel insane right now. I feel less sane. I feel completely out of control. And I'm just going to go back to what was working before. All right. Well, I know that this did not clear anything up, but I thought while I am deep in thought, I might as well bring you along for the ride. Here's what I know for myself. I used to crave sweets all day. Now I don't. I also did see that by introducing a small amount of carbohydrate, which probably could be done with some whole milk. I do not think I will be having 8 ounces of whole milk every day. I think that would be too much for me. But if I were to have a small amount of whole milk, that might reawaken my insulin. So if I were to start seeing morning glucose numbers go up, I could just add a little milk. I also know that that does not apply to a lot of people because most of you do not have insulin below 2. But if you do, if you've been doing this so long that your insulin is below 2 and you are seeing your A1C go up, I hope I gave you a few reasons that could be, some of which might not even be bad, some of which you could work on by just simply changing your macros. And it's possible that you may benefit by having a small amount of hopefully non-addictive. I don't want to throw anybody off the rails. I don't want you spiraling out of control like my good friend has been doing for the last 3 weeks. But if you feel like you could handle a few ounces of whole milk to see if that brings down your morning glucose, or if you hate honey as much as I do, it is not part of my diet. I saw it as like a tablespoon of like medicinal to sort of see what it would do to my morning glucose. And again, I am not quite prepared to say Dr. Civas is wrong about this because it did exactly what he said it would do. My morning glucose came down. Now, do I think that if I kept adding more and more honey, would it continue coming down? I don't think so. And I don't think he would think so either. I think he sees this as just a very tiny amount of carbs to get insulin kicked back in to do its job. And then Dr. Westman, who says he does not even see that as being a problem in his practice. So yeah, this was not a video that was going to make you leave going, got it. And I hope you're okay with that. I'm just sort of trying to figure it out. In the meantime, I would just recommend that everybody work on those 5 things, right? The diet, sleep, movement, stress management. I always put those in a different order. I know. Those 5 things are going to be the foundations of health, I believe truly, for everybody. That I know. And I know that I see people on a weekly basis who are getting phenomenal results with a carnivore diet. I keep sharing their stories because they're real people with real stories. And I get to see them live, face to face, and get to know them on camera and hear all of their amazing health benefits. It's so cool. I love having a community where I can share what I've learned throughout the week. I love that you come here to listen. Thank you. And even when I don't have the answers, I love trying to help people troubleshoot when things are going not quite right with carnivore, to try to delve into what might be going on below the surface. And if you would like some support, accountability, a troubleshooting buddy, I host 8 meetings per week. There are 8 different time slots. There is a link below. I will also put a little link, I think, up in the upper right-hand corner, hopefully right about now, that if you click that, it'll take you to the website and explain what you need to know. So, okay, I'll see y'all next Saturday. Bye.